Welcome to the April 21st, 2025 Annual Town Meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The resolutions are located outside the auditorium on the table, so if you need copies, you can get yourself copies. The warning of this meeting was published on April 8th in the Hartford Courant. It is also located on the table outside of the auditorium. I'd like to ask for a motion to waive the reading of the warning. Does anybody want to make a motion to waive the reading? Joanne, thank you. And a second? Thank you. And I'll call for a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now I would like to ask for a motion to nominate the head moderator for tonight's meeting. And a second? Second. Thank you. Now I'll call for a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Any against? And the motion passes. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Christian Hoheb. He'll be the head moderator of this annual town meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your confidence in electing me as moderator of this annual town meeting. Before we begin, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flags to the right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I will now describe the procedures we're going to follow tonight. You should know that your decision tonight on the town's operating budget for 2025-2026 is not final until approved or rejected by voters at the polls on May 1st, 2025. Please note that voters in the referendum cannot change the budget. They can just vote yes or no. If a majority of those on May 1st, 2025 reject the budget and the number of those equals at least 15% of the number of registered electors, the town council recommends a second budget, which must be lower than the budget rejected at the referendum, that then goes to a second town meeting and a second referendum. If the second recommended budget is rejected at the referendum, the council shall meet and shall adopt a budget for the upcoming fiscal year, which shall be lower than the second recommended budget. This town meeting may increase, decrease, or authorize an additional appropriation that is not in the recommended budget presented tonight. Any increase, decrease, or addition of an appropriation shall require the affirmative vote of at least 2/3 majority of the voters voting on such item, provided that there are at least 300 voters voting on such item. Additionally, a motion shall recommend the amounts by which one or more specific appropriations identified by account number or similar designation may be increased or decreased to equal the amount of the increase or decrease. The recommended budget reflecting any such increases, decreases, or addition of an appropriation that is not in the recommended budget shall be submitted to a referendum. But wait, there's more. All right, we have 5 items on the agenda tonight. First, that the town report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 be approved. Second, that the budget recommended by the town council for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2025 be approved. 3, that the town of Farmington appropriate $1 million for the replacement of the HVAC system at the Highway and Grounds Department garage. 4, that the town of Farmington appropriate $2,650,000 for the replacement of the HVAC system and roof at the Community Senior Center. And 5th, to consider and act upon any other business which may properly come before said meeting. We will consider each agenda item separately. To place each of these items before you, I'll call for a motion and a second. I'll then ask for the appropriate town officials to describe the item for informational purposes. I will recognize anyone who wishes to speak on the motion before us. I ask that you go to the single microphone down to my right, your left, in the aisle, and begin by stating your name and address for the record. I ask that you keep your comments to the agenda topic and to present them as briefly as possible. If you have any questions, please direct the questions to me as moderator and indicate whom you would like to answer it. Please confine your questions to the topic under discussion and do not enter into a debate. If the comment or question is not germane to the topic at issue, I will rule it out of order. I'll call for a motion to adjourn the meeting to a referendum to be held at the regular polling places on May 1st, 2025, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. All right, going back to the first motion, may I have a motion to move the first item contained in the warning that the town report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 be approved? Is there a motion? Thank you. And a second? Second, thank you. Any comments, questions from the audience? I'm now going to call for a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Motion 2, may I have a motion to move the second item contained in the warning that the budget recommended by the Town Council for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2025 be approved? Thank you. A second. All right, we have a second. I'll now call upon Kathleen Blonsky, Town Manager, to begin the presentation.
Good evening, and welcome to the Farmington Annual Town Meeting. Tonight, I present for your review the Town Council's recommended budget for the fiscal year 25-26. Budget process. Each year, our budget development begins in January when the Town Council issues budget guidelines. These guidelines, sent to all the town departments, the Board of Education, and other relevant agencies, help establish the framework for building the town's budget. By February, town departments and the Board of Education submit their individual budget request. Following the receipt of these requests, I work closely with the department heads and the staff to evaluate funding needs, consider service priorities, and align proposed expenditures with available resources. This assists in the preparation of the town manager's recommended budget, which is formally presented to the Town Council in March. The Town Council then begins its review process, which includes a series of public hearings and budget workshop sessions. These sessions provide an opportunity for the Council to thoroughly examine the budget, ask questions, and consider adjustments. Following this review, the Council adopts a proposed budget for presentation to the voters. A public hearing was most recently held on April 7th to allow residents to provide feedback. Following this evening's annual town meeting, the Town Council's recommended budget will be brought to a referendum vote. This year, that vote will take place on Thursday, May 1st. If the budget is not approved by the voters, the Council will revisit the budget, make the necessary revisions, and a second town meeting and referendum will be held. Once the budget is approved by voters at referendum, it becomes effective on July 1st, marking the beginning of the new fiscal year. Budget workshop actions. During budget deliberations last month, the Town Council added the following items back into the budget: $167,245 for the police department. These funds would be utilized for 2 marked patrol vehicles and 1 unmarked vehicle, as well as their associated technical equipment. $11,500 to the town manager's office. Funds would be utilized for the hiring of a part-time custodian to assist in the maintenance of the 1928 new town hall building, the town hall annex, and the Staples House. $10,000 to Hope Partners of Farmington. Funds would be provided to the local nonprofit organization Hope Partners of Farmington, formerly Services for the Elderly. $5,000 to the Interville House. Funds would be donated to the local nonprofit organization Interville House. These budget items added a total of $193,745. The following reductions were also approved by the Town Council during last month's budget workshops, including $140,000 from the town's capital improvement plan and $244,482 from the Board of Education's capital plan. This brings the total amount of budget reductions to $384,482. Budget objective. The budget maintains current service levels and increases capital funding, which includes 2 separate bond authorizations. The budget does include the use of fund balance, but even with the recommended $800,000 appropriation, the current fund balance meets our fund balance policy. Expenditure summary. I will now review the Town Council's recommended budget. The general fund budget includes the recommended spending for the town, for the school system, for debt service, and for capital improvements. The recommended budget for Westwood's Golf Course, the Recreation Fund, and solid waste collection and disposal are also included for your review. The budget is broken down into 3 categories: expenditures, grand list, and revenues, which are used to develop a tax rate. The total recommended budget for fiscal year 25-26 is $136,765,432, an increase of 6.35% above the current budget. Town operations by category. The recommended town budget is $36,441,160, an increase of 4.05% above current expenditures. This includes general administration with an increase of 5%, public safety with an increase of 2.56%, public works an increase of 6.09%, community and recreation an increase of 15.93%, and an other with an increase of 2.68%. Some areas to note. In general, this budget does not include any new services, new equipment, or full-time positions, and many of the accounts have been reduced. Contractual obligations and overall personnel costs townwide have increased due to the current job market and an effort to attract and retain employees. This budget includes full-year funding for a recreation director in accordance with the town strategic plan. Last year, this position was only funded for half a year. The Registrar of Voters account has increased due to the early voting mandate. This increase includes salaries, staffing, supplies, and equipment for early voting events. Townwide contractual service accounts overall have increased. Building repair and maintenance accounts contracts have increased by 23.2%. Utility accounts have increased throughout the budget. Electricity has increased 23.5%, and communications, internet, and telephone have increased 19%. This budget includes funds to operate and maintain the new town hall, the 1928 building, for 4 months. It should be noted that next year this facility will need to be funded for the entire year. The calls for service in the fire department has increased, resulting in higher contractual payments to our volunteer departments. Accounts in the fire department budget have been increased to reflect actual spending. Expenditure by object. This budget is further separated by object, which includes salaries, benefits, supplies, equipment, contractual, and utilities. The increase for salaries is 3.88%. The increase for benefits is 2.63%. There is a decrease of 0.25% for materials and supplies. There is an increase of 0.07% for equipment. The increase for contractual is 5.2%. Lastly, there is an increase of 9.87% for utilities. The recommended total town general fund appropriation is $36,441,160, which is a 4.05% increase above the current budget. Debt service. The debt group of accounts includes appropriations to make principal and interest payments on the town's long-term debt obligations. The total amount recommended for next year's is $13,716,271. This is an increase of 20.04%. The funds in these accounts pay for the lease financing obligations, Clean Water Fund loans, and the principal and interest due on the town's existing bonded debt. Funds are also included in this account for the interest payment on a debt issuance plan for the fall of 2025. The debt proceeds will be used to pay the expenses associated with the building of the new Farmington High School, the renovation of the 900 wing to the Board of Education offices, road paving, the Westwood School roof replacement, the purchase of 2 fire apparatuses, and the replacement of the HVAC system at the police facility. Special services. The refuse collection budget includes the cost of collecting and disposing of solid, bulky, and hazardous waste generated by town residents and the town's landfill operation. The budget proposes an increase of 3% or $8. The annual fee will be $276 per household. General fund capital appropriations. The town's capital improvement policy and the town's strategic plan were the policy guidelines that were at the forefront when formulating the CIP. The recommended general fund appropriation to support the first year of the capital improvement plan is $3,017,018. There are also 2 bond questions. Summary of the capital projects in year one. $1,349,518 Board of Education General Fund, which will be outlined in detail later this evening. $1,667,500 to the town's general fund projects, which are outlined on the screen. This brings the general fund projects to a total of $3,017,018. Summary of the other appropriations, year one. The capital projects shown on the screen are being funded by other funding sources and not through the general fund or taxpayer dollars. These funding sources include donations, state dollars, and user fees totaling $115,000. Funds will be used for the complete restoration of the Gamprel section of the Tinty Barn and to replace the netting at the Tungus Meads softball field. $300,000 will be reallocated from the Main Street Sidewalk Project to fund sidewalk improvements to Meadow Road. Summary of bonding. The town's capital plan proposes 2 bonding questions that will be discussed later this evening. This includes $1 million for the replacement of the original 1999 HVAC system at the highway garage, $2,650,000 for the replacement of the original 2002 HVAC system at the original 2002 roof at the Community and Senior Center. The total bonding authorization recommended is $3,650,000. Expenditure summary. The total recommended budget for fiscal year 25-26 is $136,765,432, an increase of $8,164,267, or 6.35% above the current budget. I will now call Kathy Greeter, Superintendent of Schools, to present the Board of Education budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening to the Farmington community. It's my pleasure to present the 2025-2026 Board of Education's budget. The budget development process in Farmington is grounded in our strategic core improvement documents each year. From initial school submissions to the refinement of our operating budget through school and program reviews of all requests, zero-based budgeting practices were utilized. This slide shows Farmington's mission statement, which promotes personal and academic success and the acquisition of the skills and dispositions outlined within our vision of the global citizen. Our core improvement documents, including our vision of the global citizen, serve as the foundation of the Board of Education's budget or our financial plan. This slide provides the overview of the proposed Board of Education's operating budget for the 2025-2026 school year. The total recommended budget amount is $83,240,983 for a dollar increase of $3,696,744, or a percent increase over the 24-25 budget of 4.65%. The rankings listed on this slide are statewide, including all school districts, with one spending the most and 166 spending the least. It is important to note that Farmington ranks 107 in the most up-to-date per-pupil expenditures reported by the Connecticut State Department of Education as compared to all other Connecticut school districts, which is $985 less per pupil than the state per-pupil average, or a difference of approximately $4 million. The first budget driver is salaries, the 100 series, which accounts for 66% of the total proposed budget. The budget increase in the salary line is 4.26% and reflects negotiated contractual obligations. This series reflects all of our association salary increases for the coming school year, which are highlighted on this slide. The next budget driver is insurance, or the 200 series, which accounts for 14% of the total proposed budget, with a slight 0.74% increase. The 200 series includes employee health benefits, providing 100% of expected paid claims with a high deductible HSA and coinsurance, as well as life insurance and long-term disability cost. Due to collaborative work with the town of Farmington, we experienced cost containment and reductions in the self-insurance line for the coming fiscal year. Services is the next budget driver, the 300 series, which accounts for 16% of the total proposed budget. This is a very volatile series of the budget due to the categories of cost within this series. There is an increase of 10.39% in the services series. This account provides for special services, consultation services, and tuition costs for outplacements, major facility projects, K-8 summer school, and technology-based operational systems, as well as professional development. The increase is driven by special services cost due to student need, as well as an account supporting transportation services, facilities, and electricity. There is also restoration of funding across areas due to reductions in the 24-25 budget and increased cost across many accounts of the services account due to the economy. Special services increase account for 60% of the increase in this series due to increased student need and varying state grant funding from year to year. The next series is supplies, or the 400 series, which accounts for 3% of the total proposed budget. The supplies series reflects a slight increase of 1.23% for restoration of supply funding due to budget reductions in the 24-25 budget approval process and increased costs across all areas of supplies due to the economy. The 500 series, or the equipment series, accounts for 1% of the total proposed budget and reflects an increase of 7.37% due to the need for equipment, restoration of reductions in equipment in the 24-25 budget, and increased costs due to the economy. Dues and fees, or the 600 series, accounts for less than 1% of the total proposed budget and shows a 15.54% increase. This account includes memberships in organizations that support our strategic improvement efforts. This account also includes Town of Farmington's negotiated liability, umbrella, and motor vehicle insurance for the school district. Insurance costs for the new high school is the main driver of the increase in this series. Here is a view of the entire Board of Education's proposed 25-26 operating budget, all of which I reviewed within this budget presentation. The Board of Education's proposed capital improvement budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year is $1,349,518. This budget reflects efficiencies and reductions from the Board of Education's original capital request. For technology infrastructure improvements, $475,000. For school security upgrades, $200,000. In school code and safety upgrades, $151,776. In the area of district-wide mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, $200,000. In structural architectural improvement, $152,742. Replacement of K-8 classroom furniture, $30,000. And lastly, the IAR generator automatic switch, $140,000, for a total proposed capital improvement budget of $1,349,518. This slide provides our 7-year plan for capital improvement. In summary, the proposed 2025-2026 Board of Education budget maintains current programming and services pre-K-12. The budget supports contractual increases across many budget lines, specifically in the areas of personnel, facilities, transportation, and contracted services. Special services is a particular driver of this budget across various accounts due to student need and year-to-year fluctuation of grant funding at the state level. Inflation is impacting costs across most district budget lines and accounts. We have implemented zero-based budgeting and factored in projected grant funding, as well as reallocation of funding within the operating budget. Lastly, it is important to note that due to our collaborative work with the Town of Farmington, we are experiencing cost containment and reductions in the self-insurance account of approximately $1 million. Thank you for your attention to this presentation. I will now welcome back our Town Manager, Kathy Blonsky, to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. The grand list. The grand list is broken down into 3 categories: real estate, personal property, and motor vehicles. The real estate account shows a 0.40% increase. The personal property account shows a 14.98% increase, and the motor vehicles account shows an 8.85% decrease. In summary, the grand list increased by 0.61%, or $27,544,992. Some areas to note: the increase in the net taxable real estate is from apartment construction and development residential development, and medical office construction. The opening of Jordan's Furniture contributed the most to the increase in the net taxable personal property. Revenues. I've broken down revenues into 9 categories: other property taxes, licenses and permits, fines and penalties, interest, grants, service charges, other, Westwood's contribution, and fund balance. In summary, recommended non-tax revenues are $17,396,800, or a 14.56% increase over the current year. Some areas to note: state and federal grants have been increased from last year. Based on the governor's budget, the town is projected to receive an additional $2,175,719 in state grants. The fund balance contribution is recommended at $800,000. Recommended tax and mill rate. The recommended general fund budget will require a property tax rate of 26.62 mils, which is an increase of 1.17 mils, or a 4.61% tax increase. In other words, $100,000 of assessed value equals $2,662 in taxes. Based on a tax rate of 26.62 mils, the average residential assessment will see an increase of $353.39 in their taxes. Referendum date. The townwide referendum will be Thursday, May 1st at your regular polling location between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, if anyone has any questions or comments, please approach the microphone right here to the right. State your name and your address. Questions, comments?
Hi, Joanne Lawson, 9 Prattling Pond Road. My first comment is that I have heard that the superintendent of schools is retiring, and I want to say congratulations. Job well done. Then my next question, yeah. My next question is about that equalized cost sharing state grant. I saw that it went up by $2 million. Is that going to continue into the future, or will it go back to where it was before and our taxes increase for that next year? And then if we have time, I would like to understand a little bit more about why we're expecting to place 27 students out of our district. That's an increase of 11 students. And I thought we made every effort to educate our own students here in our own district. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Based on the ECS funding, we're hopeful that that's going to be our new number. So that's very good news for us.
Thank you for the question. Thank you all so much. For special education, it varies every year, and I would say that part of the special education law is to have students in the least restrictive environment. Outplacements are the most restrictive environment. So we really do prioritize creating programs within our district so our students can access any program that they need within our schools, and then they can access all of the different programs that we have, including extracurricular. When a child is outplaced, often those types of services and clubs and interscholastic athletics are not available in outplacement. So we do everything possible. There are times where students are outplaced, and it's a process. There is a PPT, and there's lots of data that's gathered. And if it is determined by the pupil placement team that the best option for that child right now, and it may not be forever, is to be placed in an outplacement, then the IEP is what dictates where the child gets their services or accesses their services. Often, if a student is outplaced, it is costing the district more than 4.5 times their per pupil expenditure. When that happens, state level funding kicks in. So any cost over 4.5% of our per pupil expenditure is reimbursed by the state. But I had mentioned in my presentation that we are experiencing a fluctuation of that promise from the state to pay anything above 4.5 times. When I first arrived here many years ago, it was over 75%. It should be 100%. So again, anything over that costs the school district, anything over 4.5% of our per pupil, the state excess cost grant should be paying 100%. It's just that given the rising cost of special education, they haven't been able to achieve that. And so we would get around 75%. This year, it went down to around 59%. Because they also implemented tiers. So depending on what they calculate as the wealth of a school district, we're put in different tiers. So we're in the lower tier, and we only receive 59% of anything that cost us over 4.5 times. And that puts a big stress on our budget each year. There's a lot of unknowns. Students can move in at the beginning of the year. We set the budget the year before. So it's a very volatile situation when it comes to those costs. And we have advocated to the state that we would like to receive a higher percentage. In this fiscal year, the state of Connecticut legislators did put in $40 million more. So we are expecting, I believe, around $300,000 more, but it's very late in the school year to be receiving it. But all school districts will receive a little more in excess cost grant funding. Many districts did not budget for that 59% or whatever they received. And so it's been a challenging year across Connecticut, and I think that's why the legislators responded in that way and put more money in this fiscal year. For next year, we don't know if it will increase. We believe, right now we're budgeting for what we received this year, and, we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Tim Kelly, 62 Westview. I thought I was being filibustered there, but I appreciate the time. During the normally grim budget month of March, I noticed the town manager was exceptionally upbeat, almost low giddy. Then I found out that the town would receive over $2 million of additional funding from the state. This is highly unusual, as we typically get little or no increase for years on end. Now, our tax rate went up over 5% last year. It would have gone up another 6.5% here in this proposal without the outside funding infusion. Unfortunately, we cannot hope for this extra outside help every year. Even with the added state funding, our 2-year tax increase is 10%. Our average tax increase over the past 10 years was 2.6%. Not including the reval assessment. The core problem is our spending increased 6% last year and is now up 6.35% for the coming year. So objectively, we're heading in the wrong direction on expenditures. And we're increasing expenses at more than 2 times the rate of inflation. Our school spending budget has already increased $10 million over the past 4 years. You are proposing here an additional $3.7 million for the upcoming year to educate the same number of pupils. I know special services is highlighted as a challenge area, but why is our percent of students receiving special services 50% higher than Avon? Overall, it's clear that in the coming fiscal year, we will have more people on payroll, a lot more office space, and a significantly higher cost structure in town. I don't think you will see wide support for this budget. And at this point, the biggest driver of inflation for Farmington homeowners is you. It's not the price of a box of Cheerios for your kids and whatever the cost of a dozen eggs is next week. We can all make personal choices and trade-offs on our individual spending, but you can't not pay your taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comments, questions? Comments, questions? Last call. All right, so as to motion 2, at the conclusion of this evening's meeting, I'll seek a motion to adjourn to May 1st. The next motion, may I have a motion to move the 5th item contained in the warning that the town of Farmington appropriate $1 million for the replacement of HVAC system at the Highway and Grounds Department garage. I need a motion and a second, please. Thank you. A second. Second. Thank you. I'll now call upon Kathleen Blonsky, Town Manager, to begin the presentation.
The first bonding question is to appropriate $1 million for the replacement of the HVAC system at the Farmington Highway Garage. In 2023, the town of Farmington commissioned an HVAC systems condition analysis report for 4 town-owned buildings: Farmington Town Hall, Farmington Police Department, Farmington Community and Senior Center, and the Farmington Highway Garage. The report determined that all 4 facilities need renovations to bring existing systems, equipment, and control systems up to the current construction and energy standards to provide reliable, consistent, maintainable HVAC systems. The highway garage is heated by 1 natural gas boiler and is labeled in poor condition. Cooling is provided by split systems. These units have leaks and can no longer be serviced. The HVAC system is original to the 1999 highway garage, and it's well past its useful life. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments on motion number 3? Comments, questions? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Matt Hutt-Wagner, 4 Deepwood Road. There's actually 4 town buildings not mentioned that don't have HVAC: Union School, East Farms School, West District School, and Noah Wallace School. As you residents know, those buildings have no HVAC, no air conditioning. That's not part of this plan. As we all know, the state of Connecticut is working on a proposal to move school HVAC projects part of school construction. So I understand why it's not on for this year, but we as residents should be pushing for that as soon as possible. So I hope the town council and board of ed considers that as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Questions, comments, last call. All right, like the prior motion, we'll seek that be adjourned at the conclusion of this meeting. Motion 4, may I have a motion to move the 6th item contained in the warning that the town of Farmington appropriate $2,650,000 for the replacement of the HVAC system and roof at the Community Senior Center. Motion and a second, please. Motion and a second. All right, I'll now call upon Kathleen Blonsky, Town Manager, to begin the presentation.
The second bonding question is to appropriate $2,650,000 for the replacement of the roof and HVAC system at the Farmington Community and Senior Center. As part of the same 2023 HVAC system condition analysis report, the Community and Senior Center was determined to have the original mechanical systems deemed past due for replacement per the useful service life. The building is heated by 2 original standard efficiency boilers, both labeled in poor condition. Cooling comes from 2 aging AC systems. Both are original to the building and are labeled in poor condition. The rooftop unit struggles during large events, especially in the Learning Center where comfort issues have been reported. The budget proposes replacing the HVAC system at the same time as the roof at the Community and Senior Center. The roof is 23 years old, original, and prone to leaks. Since the HVAC system units are rooftop systems, combining both projects is the most cost-effective approach. The total project cost is $2,650,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Anyone have a question or comment relating to this motion? Questions, comments? Last call. All right. Is there any other business to come before the town meeting this evening? Failing to hear any, I'll seek a motion that this annual town meeting be adjourned to referendum vote on resolutions considered pursuant to the items in the annual town meeting notice to be held on Thursday, May 1st, 2025, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. at the polling places indicated in the notice. We have a motion to adjourn, someone, and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. See you on May 1st. Thank you, everyone.